Don't be like me and move to Raleigh, North Carolina and not find out what is it and why do people even love about living in Raleigh, North Carolina. I get asked this question a lot, so from my perspective, you're going to be able to hear the things that I enjoy, what is it that I enjoy, and why I enjoy living in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, if you're new to me in this YouTube channel, we talk about everything you need to know about Raleigh, North Carolina, so make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out. But also, I am a licensed realtor here, so if you have any questions about real estate or even need help with your relocation needs, just reach out. As some of you may already know, I am not from Raleigh. I was not born in Raleigh. I actually moved here about 5 years ago myself. Just like a lot of you who are probably watching this right now thinking about making the move, now you want to figure out if it's going to be the right move for you. One of the things I always recommend doing for anyone that's looking to move to any area, not just Raleigh, North Carolina, take a trip, visit, make it as long as you want, make it as short as you want, but at least get your own personal experience and your own feel for yourself. And the reason why I say that is because that's exactly what I did myself. I had a friend who was already here, a friend invited me to the area, I checked it out, and I was really quickly able to see this is a place where there's a lot going on. I really quickly was able to also see that this isn't a place where people really go to take a vacation per se. If anything, it's a good place to visit and just to see what it's all about. But even during my trip, I was able to see the city for itself, see what was going on for that time being. And to be honest, after that trip, I was very much so sold. I didn't have to take multiple trips. It was just after that one, I knew exactly this is the place where I could see myself being in. What really did it for me was the area really fit my personality. So as you can only imagine, during my trip, I was going out a lot. I was, getting a real feel of the people in the area. How does the area even feel for me? What's the weather like? I was doing all of that good stuff. But when I said the area really fit my personality, I am not so much introvert. I'm more of an extrovert on that end. So to be able to have conversations, create conversations with people was not, I would say, so much of importance to me, but just the ability to do that was extremely helpful. But not only was I creating conversations, there were people also looking to create conversations with me, saying hi. If you guys know, coming from up north, the Northeast specifically, as you guys may know, I'm from Connecticut, and there isn't so much of interaction when you're walking past each other. In fact, it's more or less like, what are you looking at? And so to be in an environment where people are actually waving to you, saying hi to you, and acknowledging that you even exist, that was another thing that was definitely, kind of warming to me, and I found it to be a little different than what I was used to. So I was definitely able to check off of my list, at least the people were friendly. They weren't like what I was always used to, which if that was the case, I don't think it would have been a major problem for me. But let's just hypothetically say, the people weren't as friendly as what I've anticipated or even what I was looking for or maybe what I expected. You can't forget that Raleigh sits in between two other major metros, Durham and Chapel Hill. So once I understood and realized that Raleigh is literally in between maybe 30 minutes or so between Chapel and Durham, I knew the second that I get bored in Raleigh, I have two other places that I can check out that I probably don't spend that much time in, and there's probably a whole different dynamic, culture, people over there as well. And then if I really want to take it a step further, I can always travel a few hours away to Charlotte to really get that city feel that I may be missing because New York was literally an hour drive from where I was staying in Connecticut. So sometimes I understand, I need that urge just as much as some of you guys do. I don't need it as much, but it's always good to have. So I'll take it back and say, just Raleigh being in between, two major metros, Chapel Hill and Durham, that was definitely an opportunity for me to see. I can get the best of both worlds right there, and it's not that long of a travel. Now, of course, if I want to take it, like I said, a step further, I can always do that as well. But it's essentially you have a city living, but then you also have suburban living at the same time, at the same place in the same area. So essentially you get the best of both worlds. In addition to having the best of both worlds, one thing that I saw is I'm in between three major colleges where they all have sporting events. I love watching competitive sports. I love people really being competitive and going at it, especially when it comes to basketball. So that was one of the things. And of course, how can we get, we're Duke and Chapel Hill, UNC. I mean, those, we all know. As you guys know, I went to school at UConn, so that battle was always a big thing that we always had and always in discussion. So to be in between both of those big places, big cities, that gave me the ability to say, all right, well, I can participate in that, even if, the things that are going on over here aren't really attractive at the moment of time being. But like I mentioned, lots of sporting events. However, it's on the collegiate level. That's the only thing I would say. Now, if you want to go the pro aspect, again, you're just going to have to go over and beyond and take it to the next level and go to Charlotte. But that wasn't too much of like a Debbie Downer for me. I just saw, as long as I can watch a really good collegiate or a really good sporting event and see competitiveness at a high level, I knew I would be just fine. And this is something that I personally don't really care too much about, but it did pique my interest to see what was really going on in terms of activity in the area. Now, this is an area where it is growing, so I looked at to see what kind of music events do they have, what kind of performances, what kind of shows do they even have in this area. And at the time being, when I was really looking at it, it wasn't as much as what's going on now. So I definitely say that even though this wasn't too big of a concern to me, if it is a concern to you, just go on to those Ticketmaster or something of that nature and go really sees what happens in the area. But that's something that, again, at the time being, wasn't that big, but now I could see it more and more, and I've seen it more myself. I've even gone to a few events to check out. But the major downfall that I specifically don't love about Raleigh, and that's kind of where it sits, so not being too close to the beach. Again, if you can bear just a 2 to 3 hour travel time, then you'll be fine. But me, I was used to being around 3 to 4 beaches all around me, and they were all within 30 minutes. And by being by the coast, of course, you have the accessibility, but being more inland when you're living in Raleigh, you don't really have that. So did I love the fact that I wasn't so close to the beach? No, but I knew that I don't really go to the beach that often to the point where it's going to be a tough or a rocky decision. If anything, I could spend a weekend at the beach and I will be more than happy and sufficient for the rest of my summer. However, that's something that some of you may need around you, and that was it was a big question mark to me. It's kind of a downfall. It's definitely a change that I needed to make. However, it wasn't the end of the world for me. As any place you'll find, there will always be things you can pick apart and really look at the negatives. But in this position, in this scenario, as you can see, some of the things I've already mentioned, they were way more positive than negative. So if you have something specific that I didn't already discuss and you want to know a little bit more about it, that number that is popping up right there, make sure to give me a call, shoot me a text, email, day or night, heck, maybe even on the weekends. And let's talk about it. And let's see if Raleigh, North Carolina is a good fit for you or not. For anyone who lives in an area that's cold majority of the year, you will really understand me and know exactly where I'm coming from. Especially if you're looking to get away from the weather that you're experiencing. Because I know for a fact, the weather that goes on in the Northeast, I could not tolerate it. I mean, I'm not a person that loves the cold. In fact, I prefer to be more on the warmer side of things majority of the year, because that enables me to do a lot more outdoors. But also, I don't have to deal with putting on a jacket and being cold all the time. I don't have to deal with, let's say, depressed people, because that sometimes comes with it. Also, I don't have to deal with the snow, shoveling, anything of that nature. So I've now just taken a ton of time and added it to my day by not having to deal with some of those things that you typically have to deal with when you're coming from certain areas. It's come to the point where now I think I found a new love to being able to go outdoors and just walk the trails, to go on hikes. Something that I did do while I was in Connecticut, but I could do it more often and more freely here and not have to worry about a thing. Because even though it does get cold here, and cold being whatever you consider it, I don't really consider it cold. If we're talking 30 degrees being cold, then I guess you can say that. Personally speaking, I'm used to way worse than that. So that is not bad at all to me. Which is why I knew if the weather did not check off my list, I knew Raleigh wasn't going to be a good fit for me. But I came at a good time. It was literally during the fall I visited, and it was nice out. I couldn't believe it. I felt like I lived in a whole new world. Which is why, hey, don't take my word for it. Take a trip yourself and to see if this is an area that does fit. It checks off all your boxes. Because the weather, for a fact, checked off my box, despite the fact that it gets extremely humid. That was something I wasn't really prepared for. But I can tolerate it because I understand that the humidity doesn't last forever. And another thing that I loved, which is still continuing to this day, is me being a young individual. I'm looking for growth. I'm looking for way more opportunities. I'm looking for everything to be exponential to my future, right? So one thing that I really looked at is this even an area that is producing more opportunities? You know, moving to a big city, I definitely wasn't going to move to a small city, I'll tell you that now. Moving to a big city was not so much of importance to me. It was more about less, is this an area that I can grow in? And as you can see, Raleigh on a consistent basis, North Carolina in general on a consistent basis, is adding more opportunities from corporations to just new development opportunities, so that, you know, this area is not going to look the same come 5-10 years from now. In fact, I'm actually excited for what the future holds, because now at this point it is exactly what it was I was looking for, which is a place to grow with. So it may be tough to find what it is that you want to be around, but I think Raleigh, personally speaking, I think Raleigh has everything for everyone. And that's weird to say, because it's like, you know, not everything exists like that. But I truly do believe that Raleigh has that set up for you. It's just a matter of up to you to figure it out and find out what is it that you want to be around and who is it that you want to be around. But just as much as I enjoy making these videos for you guys, my name is Roney Polynice, and if you have any questions about real estate or your relocation needs, that number that you do see popping up right there, make sure to give me a call, shoot me a text, email, day or night, heck, maybe even on the weekends. Always remember one thing: I got your back in this market.